So good morning, all of you, and big warm welcome to our, I think this might be our fourth Makeup Magic Monday masterclass, which we've decided to do all about eye makeup. You may have noticed that I'm not wearing any eye makeup at all at the moment, and Sally is wearing half her eye makeup. So just to give you a general idea of the effect of eye makeup on a face, I personally feel that eye makeup is a very special part of doing your face. And what makes it special is that when you're putting your face makeup on, which we talked a lot about last week, what you're doing really is you're trying to create a sort of an even toned and flawless canvas onto which you can then create interest and colour and a bit of drama. And you can do that really, really brilliantly with eye makeup. Now, eye makeup becomes, whereas with a face, you've got big movements, you've got big brushes, you've got a bigger area to cover. Obviously, with eye makeup, you're talking about a much smaller and more precise application. I think it's the most creative part of eye makeup. I also think it's the most challenging part of eye makeup, especially when you're older, because eyes change, they change shape, they change, the texture of the skin changes. So you've got various things that you have to be worried about when it comes to eye makeup on an older eye. I'm just going to say something to begin with. Some of you may wear glasses, and some of you may have eye problems like blepharitis and eyes that stream and run and all that kind of thing. And that makes eye makeup for you particularly challenging. So if that was me, and I wore glasses all the time, which I don't, I'm just going to put my glasses on and show you what the effect of that is. Now you can see that immediately that I put my glasses on, I've got a balancing going on between the frames of my glasses and my lipstick. So I've already started that sort of balancing process. So glasses can be fantastically helpful if you wear them and you're not either too keen on eye makeup, you're not too good at eye makeup, or you have an eye problem that creates difficulties for you. Now, if I could manage to put a little bit of mascara on and possibly curl my eyelashes, I reckon that this look would be good, good enough, and I'd be very happy to go out like this. So I just wanted to say that we'll do more about this in another program. We're not going to concentrate on glasses this time, but we will give you some more hints and tips about glasses shapes and things like that on another session that we will do for you, because we are going to do 2 or 3 about eye makeup. Today we're going to concentrate on eye shapes and shaping using eye makeup, and that's where I think the technique side of it comes in very, very strongly, but also the power of eye makeup, because you can see with me, with no eye makeup on, my eyes are quite small, they're quite round, they're very, I feel like, half my face has disappeared because I haven't got any eye makeup on. But you can do so much with eyeshadows. So I'm going to start with, Sally's going to start this process because she's done half her, she's done one eye, and she's going to match the other one, showing you some techniques for simple shaping on, an almond shape eye, which is the easiest one to do, but she's going to incorporate comments and tips and hints about hooded eyes, very common problem as you get older. So Sally is going to demonstrate that, and then she's going to pass back to me, and I'm going to show you a quick and easy eye makeup, which I actually like a lot. Very simple to do, but it's also very useful if you've got quite prominent eyes and you've got eyes that are slightly bulging in the socket. It's not very common, but it does happen, and I want to show you a technique for that. So I'm going to pass over to Sally now, who's going to start the process of showing you about all about shaping.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's lovely to see you all. I feel very lopsided, and in fact, the postman came to deliver something this morning, and I completely forgot that I had one eye on and one eye not on, and he definitely looked at me oddly, and so I'm sort of definitely very unbalanced. So I hope you can see, looking at me just sort of straight on. I've done my face makeup and I've got my blusher and my lips on, but I hope you can see that this eye has got nothing on, and it is, you can see it's slightly red and discoloured, and it looks a little bit droopier, and hopefully you can see the difference that one eye should look a little bit more lifted and a little bit more almond shaped. So what I'm going to try and do, it's quite difficult to do. What I tend to do is do a bit of one and a bit of the other. I think that's what most people do when they do their eyes, but I'm going to attempt to match up and create this look. So when I do makeup lessons, eyes are the most questioned. People come along, and I think the first thing to say is when you're doing your eyes, look at yourself. We've got time now. We've got time. We're in lockdown. We've got plenty of time to play. So use this time. So what I would say is when you first look at yourself objectively in the mirror and see whether your eyes are slightly hooded, whether their eyes are quite deep set, whether you've got prominent lids. And if you look at my eyes with no makeup on, the thing to say is that where it is naturally further forward, like my brow and in the center, it looks slightly lighter. Where it is pushed back in my socket line, it looks darker. So that is basically, with an almond eye, what I try and recreate and enhance using eye makeup. The thing to remember about eye makeup is light colors bring forward and dark colors push back. So the first thing I'm going to do is to use the Smooth Out Eye Prime. This is an amazing product, and it does two things. First of all, it will take away discoloration. And you can see the fine veins and a bit of redness, and sometimes you might get freckles, and the skin becomes a little bit thinner, so it looks more discolored. So you're creating a base to take away that. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of this on. Not that much. I then use a concealer brush. So I'm just going to blend it in and just spread it over. Now, in the shop, we've had a few ladies say that they find this product goes a little bit bitty. The only time that will happen is if you have got oily or slightly, you've got something on your eyelids. So your eyelids need to be dry and clean for this product to work really well. But it's amazing. So it should just take away any discoloration. And the other thing that it's really brilliant for is to hold your makeup on. If you've got crepey eyelids, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant product to use because it sort of helps with crepiness. So that's my first thing. I kind of bring it to about here on the lid. Okay, the trio that I have used today is the warm browns. And what I am going to do is to use the cream colour as a base. So I'm going to use my brush number 7, take quite a lot onto the brush, and I'm going to put this all over my lid. Now, it's really important to know where to finish. If you have got slightly drooping eyes or hooded eyes, it's important. I don't know if you remember when we did brows a few weeks ago, we saw that the brows finished here. If you've got a fairly almond-shaped eye, finish your eye makeup in the same place. But if you have got a hooded eye, your eye makeup can finish even more vertical, because if you bring your eye makeup down too low, it will just have the effect of adding to the hoodedness and the droop. So I'm going to put it all over. This is a really easy colour to use. It's cream. It just lightens and brightens. And I'm putting it, you need to put enough shadow on. I think a lot of ladies also are frightened to put eyeshadow on. But if you don't put enough on, when you put a second layer on, it doesn't blend so well. So you need enough. This is a really nice brush for putting a lot of colour on. So I'm not going too much lower than that. So just all over the eye shape. Okay, the second colour I'm going to use is the mid colour. This is Cocoa. See this one here. Now, what I'm going to try and do here is to create a little bit of shading into my socket line. We naturally have our socket line here, but a lot of ladies just put their darker colour sort of on this bit and not go too high. Now, what you want to do, particularly as we get older, gravity wins out and you start to get this sort of slightly hooded look. You want, with a darker colour, because the darker colour pushes back, you can recreate a false socket line higher than your natural one. So I've discovered actually for this, in the last few weeks, if you're wanting to put a precise amount of colour on, I've actually gone into using my concealer brush, new use for concealer brush, to get a really good line here. And then I blend with my blender brush. So I'm going to take a bit of cocoa. Now, this is important. I find it easier when I'm trying to lift to start at the outside rather than the middle, because if you start in the middle, it's very easy to come down too low. So if you look at yourself with your eyes open, you want to say, okay, I want to see this dark colour. So it has to start literally about there. So it's quite high. You can even put a little dot there just to sort of find the start point. So you don't want a dead straight line. You don't want it to be really curved, but you want a slight arc. So if I just go out to in with the cocoa, creating a line, and it's higher than my actual, you can just see where I'm starting to put it. It's higher than the actual socket line. And I think the thing that most ladies, when I'm doing makeup lessons with them, I do one eye, they do the other. And I find that they are frightened to go too high, because when you first look at yourself with eye makeup up here, it looks as though you bruised your eye and they go, oh, I can't possibly put it that high. But I would say, wait till you've finished, until you've got everything on, your mascara, your eyeliner, your brows, it won't look right. So I'm going to just keep building it up. I also bring a little bit down in this area. So just sort of like a number 7, I call this a number 7 shape. Okay, so what I'm now going to do is to create some definition. Now I love eyeliner, but eyeliner on an older eye and on a very crepey eye can be quite harsh. So using the dark shadow, which is the chocolate, I love chocolate. I also love using charcoal. There's lots of dark ones that really work well. Using the dark one, I'm going to create an eyeliner. I am right-handed, so my right eye is actually more difficult for me to do than my left eye because my hands are sort of in the way. So this is what I do. I take my brush number 8. Now you can either use it dry, or some ladies like to make it very, very slightly damp. You can do that too, but only a tiny bit. Put it into the chocolate. And then what I then do is just take the edges off on my hand. So you can see it's got a pointy bit. What I then do is I start on the outside for this particular makeup. And because if you're able to shut one eye nicely and keep the other eye open, it helps. Most people can do that with one eye, but they don't do it on the other. They can't on the other eye. I can't do it on my right eye. So what I do is take this finger and actually pinch my finger towards my nose to clamp my eye shut, which makes a nice smooth area. I'm starting on the outside and I am winging it up slightly, and I'm bringing it into the base of the lashes. You need to do this several times to create enough definition. So you can be quite bold. You can see I've got the corner bit on the outer edge so that it wings up. You don't want it to come down. If you bring it down, it will just make your eye droop down more. So you can actually give yourself a mini eye lift doing this. So right into the base of the lashes. And I go about 1/2 to 3/4 of the way across for a day look. Sometimes I go further for night, but you need to keep going with it and just keep playing until you've got enough. It's quite difficult to do, match up. You can start to see it starting to look a bit like the other one. Now I put a little bit on the bottom. You don't have to put any on the bottom. And if you think chocolate is too strong, I would suggest taupe is quite a nice, if you want a softer look on the bottom, that looks good. But I am going to today put a little bit on the bottom. Again, why I'm starting at the outside and working in is that if you start in the middle, sometimes you get a bit of a blob. Whereas if you start at the outside, you can put more definition, which helps to sort of elongate and make the eyes look really awake and enhance that almond look. So underneath, again, I'm starting at the outside and I'm just pressing it into the base of the lashes. It's really easy. It's so much easier than using a pencil. If you are a pencil lady and you love to use eyeliner pencil, we'll talk about that another day, but I would still put this over the top because pencils can look quite hard. So you need a very soft pencil if you're going to use a pencil. But this effect is actually so much softer and lasts really well. When you join the two together, what you don't want to do is bring the top down to join the bottom. If anything, if you want to join them together, join the bottom up, you can see, to meet the top. So with that will continue to lift the eye up. Otherwise you'll bring it down. It's just very subtle things that make such a difference on eye makeup. So you can again keep going as much as you want. I want more definition on the outer corner and I come about halfway along. Now, what I then do, because I want a little bit more definition for mine, is because I've already sort of put I call it the trainer shape. I've used a slightly lighter colour, cocoa. What I often do is to take just a little bit of the chocolate, having done the brow, the middle bit, and go over it, the socket line, with the chocolate. So I'm actually putting a little bit more colour. But if you're new to using this sort of shape, what I wouldn't recommend is you go straight in with a really dark colour to do this sort of socket line because you'll be frightened. It's better to try. Sometimes I use taupe, and say I'm using midnight blue as my eyeliner, I might use something like rose gold all over. I then put a little bit of taupe in the socket line, but then I get the midnight blue, use that as my eyeliner, then I take a little bit more midnight blue and go over the taupe, just like I'm doing now with the chocolate. So I'm going a little bit over and down. I'm really actually liking using this concealer brush for this, but now I'm going to take my blender brush. I love this brush, it's soft, it's fluffy, and I tend to go quite firmly out to in. You don't want any hard edges here. I'm actually going to go a little bit higher, just a fraction higher, to try and match it up. And at this point, it still won't look right. When you are you're looking at your eye with just eyeshadow on, it looks just too much. So just, I would say, bear with it, and don't worry about going too high, because you will, when you're looking straight on, you want to be able to see that colour. So just on. Now, highlighter. If you have got a very hooded eye, the worst thing you can actually do is to put a very shiny highlighter in the bit that is hooded, because that will bring it forward. And also the worst thing you can do is just to put a lot of dark just on the lid, because if you put dark just on the lid and a lot of light on the brow, it will bring the brow forward and push it will emphasize that. So with an almond eye, what I do is put a little bit of our Instant Bright highlight just underneath. I really like this because it's not too shimmery, and a sort of half moon shape. You see where I'm putting it? Just underneath the brow. I sometimes put a little bit just here as well, just to bring that out. But I wouldn't put very much on if the eye was really, really hooded. You don't want to bring that forward too much. The other thing with a hooded eye is look at your brows, because if you've got very sort of heavy or bushy brows, we talked about brows a few weeks ago. If you've got heavy brows, you might find actually that they're sort of coming over the hooded bit, which means you cannot put the dark shadow high enough because your brows are in the way. So it would be worth potentially when we can, going and seeing a beautician maybe, and getting them waxed or getting them tweezed, or just so that you've got a little bit less brow there, because then you can actually use the darker colours in the right area, which would be higher than you naturally want it to go. So I hope you can see that has started to kind of come a bit more equal. It's actually, if you think, where is my brow bone? It's actually, you're putting the dark on your brow bone, really, just higher than you think. So what I'm going to do now is just put a little bit of mascara on, just so you'll see the finished look then. We'll talk about mascara and eyelash curling properly next week or another week, but I always curl my lashes. It makes a massive difference, particularly if you have got a slightly hooded eye. It just opens the eye up. Mascara, I'm using the black waterproof one, and again, if you are able to put a little bit on the top before underneath, you can, just to coat the top lashes, but I love to go underneath and I wiggle it through, get more of the mascara into the base of the lashes, and rather than loads on the ends. And if you blob like I just blobbed there, or if you sneeze, little tip, if it's still wet, you can usually just take it away. But if you make a mistake, which to do, what I do is take my foundation, put a tiny bit of foundation on my hand, take a cotton bud, and just literally dot over any little splodges. Particularly good underneath. If you sneeze when you put mascara on, which sometimes happens, and you get all those little dark black bits, and you just finish your foundation, tiny bit of foundation onto a cotton bud will just remove it without ruining all your makeup. Because if you start doing this or getting water on your hand or using eye makeup remover, you'll take too much off. So that's a good tip. So I like to use a couple of coats and really get to the outer corners. Another tip, if you've got very hooded eyes, is you can use the mascara. No, not hooded eyes, that's another tip actually. If you've got slightly more narrow eyes, we'll come to that later, is you can pull the mascara outwards so that the lashes go that way rather than up. Quite clever what you can do with mascara. You may or may not want to put any on the bottom. I like to put a little bit onto the bottom lashes. I don't put loads on the bottom, but I think just a little bit gives definition if you can. And a good mirror is the most important thing. I need to use a magnifying mirror times 10 now, and it's a bit scary, but you can actually see things that you just didn't know were there, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but hopefully you can see that just finishes the eye off. And the thing that's now missing are my brows, which I could possibly do while Tricia does hers, and you'll see that this brow is a bit lighter than the other one, but I might do that. We did brows a few weeks ago, so I will finish my brow while we move on to Tricia, but hopefully you can see that looks a little bit more. You can see that the dark is higher than you would naturally want to put it. So just remember, with a hooded eye, keep the angle quite vertical. Don't come too low with your makeup. And using a dark colour, create a much higher socket line, which will have the effect of pushing back and lifting your socket line, making it a full socket line higher. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. That's brilliant. Let me just click on myself so that I can see. I have a mirror as well. So what Sally has just done there, she's actually demonstrated quite clearly, I think, given that she's got one eye with makeup on and then she's matched it with the other, the effect of the techniques of using shadow, light and shade in order to create a better, bigger, and very much more attractive looking eye. Just about, you know, when you look in the mirror, what you've got to play with, think about it. You've got 5 areas to do something with your eyes. You've got the brow, which we've already talked about. I totally support what Sally has just said about the brow bone. Keep that really clear of hair, because it's a useful bit for you. So you've got the brow bone, the socket, the lid, and then you've got your eyelashes. So it's framed by your brow at the top and your lower lashes at the bottom. So this is the area that you can play with. Now, each of you watching this is going to have different, potentially quite different shapes in each of those areas. So it's a question of enhancing those bits that need to be enhanced. And remember what Sally said about light makes it, draws attention to it. So light colors will draw attention, and dark colors will make that area less prominent and recede more. So if you think about a hooded eye, what has happened in a hooded eye is that this bit here has dropped down because it's become loose, or maybe it was always that shape. Charlotte Rampling is a great example of a woman who all her life has had hooded eyes, and she's got very hooded eyes. She's got absolutely no definition of the lid area and the socket line. So this bit, as you get older, can become loose, and it drops down and covers the socket. So you can see that to improve that, what you need to do is to create the illusion of a socket line. And what is brilliant with eyeshadow is that by using a darker eyeshadow, that's exactly what you can do. So you say, okay, I've got a brow bone, so I need that to be lighter. I've got this area here, which should be my lid, which needs to be lighter. And then the bit in between, I darken it like that in order for when somebody looks at me, that I look as though I've got three distinct areas when I've actually only got one area, because this bit has dropped down here. So that's what you're doing. So it's a way, what Sally has just done there, using her concealer brush, the little brush, to sort of almost draw the shape for herself. You can do that if you've got hooded eyes. So what you're drawing in is this illusion. So, and as Sally said, keep it high, keep it higher than you would expect it to be. And that way it makes your eyes open. We've actually got a full video about this. We'll put the link underneath this video, which is showing you exactly how to make up a hooded eye. So Mary, who's in the video, has got hooded eyes, and Linda, who's the eye makeup artist in that, shows you how to do that technique. So with my own eyes today, if you're in lockdown and Sally looks lovely and her eyes look amazing, but she's gone to quite a lot of trouble to do that. It's taken a while. It's a wonderful look if you've actually got somewhere to go and it's a special occasion and you really want to go to town, but maybe you got up this morning, you're not going anywhere other than to walk the dog or perhaps pop down to the shops quickly, but you still want your eyes to look better. So I'm now going to show you quick, easy, and something that I do a lot these days, because often, even when I'm going to be on a Zoom call with you guys, because I haven't got much time and I want to do something quite quickly. And as a technique, it's actually, this works quite well if your eyelids are something that are prominent enough for you actually want them to recede slightly, because your eyes are a bit, it sounds horrible, they're prominent. I'm going to say bulging, but they're prominent. You get it occasionally. But anyway, I quite like this technique. So what have I done already? I've put on some eye primer. Sally has shown you how to do that. Always, always, always. Why? Because it forms a good base to put on your shadows, which then stay put, and you can actually, it's just a way of creating a lovely base for you to then work on, it's a canvas to work on the shaping that you want to do. And it does help if you've got crepey eyes to smooth that surface out. So I'm going to, these are my three, but I'm not going to use three in this. I'm actually just going to use this middle one. You can see how often I do this. This is my normal pewter. It's almost gone. So I happen to have this purples trios. What we've done with our trios, this is the purples and this is the blue. Sally showed you the warms, and we've got a neutral trios as well, which is a bit softer, sort of warmish shades. It's a really pretty one, and we're just about to introduce a new one. I'll flag that to you when it's on the shelves, but it's a trios of greens. So we're introducing a new green color which we felt was missing in the range. It's a mid-tone, we called it Fern, and we've put together soft olive, fern and forest. So those of you who like green eyeshadows will be able to find that in a trio, but I'm going to use the middle one here, which is the pewter, and I'm just very simply, I am going to put this against my cheek. I find that if I don't do this, I get a lot of speckles on my cheek, and it's really annoying because you get smudges. And if you're not careful, those smudges just, it creates that whole thing of you look like you've been punched in the face. So it looks bruised, especially if you're using a color like this, which is a sort of a purpley grey. I absolutely love it. It's a new color, newish color for us. And you know that I wear quite a lot of purple, I wear a lot of pink, I wear quite a lot of blue, and this just works with all of them. So I'm not doing anything fancy here at all. I've got a number 7 brush, and I'm literally just giving a wash of color. So I'm not trying to do any fancy shaping as such. I'm just doing a wash of color, but I am lifting it fairly high. And actually I've pushed that probably lower down here than I should have done. Let me see if I can get rid of that slightly. So literally just quick and easy and lifting it slightly, but leaving the brow bone. So I'm taking this above my socket line, and it's sort of just like an arc of color like that. So I'm going to do the other eye now. I've got odd eyes. Sally didn't mention that. I think hers are quite symmetrical. Mine aren't. I fell down the stairs. I wasn't drunk, I promise you, but I caught my foot on the top of a stair when I was about 22, and I fell top to bottom of stairs. Fortunately, didn't hurt myself, but I have a scar that runs down here, and I think it actually has slightly altered the shape of my eyes. So I find this eye really easy to make up, and my left eye never looks quite as good. So it's really annoying, and I find it very hard to kind of get the match because they are odd. Now, I hope you can see that just that simple wash of color has already just made my eyes look better. So now when I talk, and if I'm just closing my eyes, I've got a little bit of color on there, and I'm going to do that trick that Sally showed of always blend, 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 because you don't want any sharp edges like that. Now it could be that that is all I do, and that takes seconds. We're not talking about anything fancy here at all. We're just talking about a wash of color, and I would say mid-tone. So here I'm using pewter. On this one, I could be using the bluebell. Any of the mid-tone colors we've got. Cocoa is a mid-tone color. What else? We've got lovely jadey green color. Sally will remember some of the other colors that she uses, but I'm very fixed on the pewter one at the moment. I use that a lot. And like Sally, I'm going to take my wedge brush, my little wedge brush, because it's got that lovely pointy bit that's so useful to do the lash line. So I would always do the lash line. What you could do, if you don't want to do a lash line and your eyes look good enough, just put some mascara on. Again, if you wear glasses, that's going to be enough. But I always use a colour along my lashes. Now I could use the aubergine from this, but my favourite one at the moment, and I've been watching a thread on Super Troopers, and somebody had tried this as a tip from me and really liked it. I'm going to use the chocolate, just like Sally did. And just like Sally, I'm going to start at that outer corner. Now I'm going to put my mirror up here, because I really can't see it in the computer mirror. This is something where you need magnifying and you need help. So just as Sally did, dragging slightly the skin so that it's as straight as you can get it. If it's bumpy because it's crepey, then obviously if you pull it, Sally did it that way, I'm doing it this way. So either will work. I'm just pulling that colour, darker colour, into the middle. And I'm actually going to go all the way along. I'm not going to keep it to that outer edge. I am going to go all the way along. And I'm not, when I'm doing this, let me just put the mirror out of the way. I'm fairly free-handed with this. So I just get the brush and I just rub it backwards and forwards, pushing that colour down into my lash line, okay, like that. So we're not talking particular precision here. And I think if I look up, you can see what the effect of that is. And I'm going to do, just as Sally did, I am going to do lower lashes. I'm going to try and do this in the computer screen. Let's get my brush around the right way. And I'm just going to push that a little bit along there. And I quite like using the flat bit of the wedge brush for the corner, just to get a bit more like that. So compare that to that, and you can see again the difference of pushing that into the lash line. So again, this one, actually what I'll do, I'll pull this out just to show you. So pushing with the wedge brush, the colour. And again, I hope you can see, I can hardly see what I'm doing, honestly, in the screen here, but what I'm hoping I'm demonstrating to you is that it doesn't have to be super precise. I think I'm probably going to leave it there. Sally showed you something that is very precise and it works beautifully, and she's done a beautiful job on that. But I'm just trying to show you that if you're in a hurry, a wash of mid-tone colour, a darker colour at the lash line, and you know, as long as you've got the right brush and you're just pushing it down into your lash line like that, it doesn't have to be you know, really carefully done. And I'm just going to finish as Sally did with mascara. Always finish with mascara. It just makes so much difference. And yes, if you want to, and it's quick and easy to do anyway, just curl your lashes. We will talk about how to curl your lashes on another demonstration. And as I agree with Sally, always with that outer corner for your lashes, just pull them to go that way, because you can get a much better shape like that. And cotton buds are very helpful. So again, when I finish doing this, because although my eyesight's reasonably good for close work, it's still helpful when you've done that to look into your magnifying mirror and just see if there are any speckles or bits that look a bit untidy, and just lift those off. If you do get, if you've got a darker shadow and it does drop down on there, just get a cotton bud and roll it over like that. Just roll it over the top rather than rubbing it, because if you rub it, it will look like a bruise. But sometimes you can just take them off by rolling over any that you've got. So I'm pretty much done there. And so I hope what you can see there is that it's just a very simple, and you know, for me that would take me 3 minutes to do. Wash of colour, little bit of lash line to give some definition there to make your lashes look thicker, and then a couple of coats of mascara on top. And again, if I was a glasses wearer, I could have done that, and perhaps that's enough drama at my eyes in order for for me to have a balance between what I've got here and then what I've got here in terms of lipstick. So I hope you found that useful as a demonstration, and it helps you. Sally, back to you now. What did we say we were going to do after that?
Okay, a couple of things. I just wanted to mention as well, a sponge wedge is also quite good as an eraser. So if you are you're doing what I showed you and you just thought, oh, it's not quite right, actually just as it is, kind of, you can take off any edges. So it's a really useful thing to have too. Close set or narrow eyes. Some ladies have very sort of close together eyes on the face. With that, if you just remember that makeup is an illusion. So first of all, look at your brows. If your brows are quite close, you might want to just tweezer them a little bit further away so that they start a little bit further out. And with close set eyes, you want the emphasis to be on the outer edge. So I wouldn't then put really any makeup on this area of my eye. I keep this kind of either just foundation or just the primer, but don't put any colour. Emphasize the outer edge. Make the eyeliner go a little bit further than your natural shape of your eye, and likewise underneath. Just bring it out without looking obviously like you put too much eyeliner on. Just wing it a little bit further out, and that will have the illusion when you're looking at someone that their eyes are slightly wider apart. Crepey eyes. As we get older, our eyes do become more crepey. Some of that can be due to hydration, lack of hydration. If you've got a very crepey eye and you go get an eye shadow and try and put it on, it won't last. It won't go on because the eye is just too dry. So with a crepey eye, a couple of things. Eye cream, if you're not using an eye cream, definitely worth doing. And I think I mentioned our eye cream that Tricia does is brilliant because it's got hyaluronic acid in it, which each molecule holds 1,000 times its weight in moisture in water, so it will really plump out your eye area. And it's also got vitamin E, vitamin C, really good. That's what we want. So keep the eye hydrated. Make sure you are drinking enough water as well. And you basically want to try the primer. If you haven't used the eye primer, it's, as I said, it's brilliant on crepey eyes. I did a makeup for a lady who was getting married, and she asked me to do her mother, who was probably about 85, and her mother never wore eye makeup at all. And it was a makeup lesson because the wedding wasn't nearby, so I couldn't actually do the wedding makeup. So she said, will you help my mum with her eye makeup, because I want her to wear something on the wedding day for the photos. So in fact, what I did with this lady is, she didn't really want much colour. I showed her how to use the eye prime on dry, oil-free eyes, and it just smoothed out the discoloration. And then what we did is I showed her just how to do a little bit we actually used charcoal eyeliner, just a little bit, using that on the outer edges. So she just used the charcoal as an eyeliner and then mascara. And then I showed her how to make her brows look good. And she looked amazing. She didn't actually have any eyeshadow colour on her eyes, but it just, the primer itself just did the trick with her. So that can be quite good. With crepey eyes, what you don't want to do is to put a very shiny, iridescent shadow. We don't do them, but an iridescent shadow all over the eyes, because that will just show up any sort of fine lines and crepiness. The primer will help to minimize those lines. And again, I would say maybe sort of work on the actual around the eye, using the eyeliner and using mascara. And if you're going to use an eyeshadow, do something like Tricia, just a very light wash of colour of the matte shadow. So something like the pewter or taupe or the cream. I just want to highlight this one because you can see I use this quite a lot. This is the neutral shades. And I often use rose gold all over, taupe as my sort of number 7 shape, and cream just in the centre actually to bring that forward. And I then use charcoal as my eyeliner with that, because I quite like charcoal as an eyeliner. Even though I'm warmer, I still use charcoal. Going back to the first one that I used, if you think this is just too light for you, or you've got fairly slightly more prominent eyes, like Tricia said, prominent eyes, you want to slightly push back. So this might look too light on your lid. So what you could do is actually use the cocoa all over as your medium tone, as your sort of base colour, and then use the chocolate as your darker colour, your over the on the socket line colour. And maybe you don't even have to use the cream on that one. You could just use a tiny bit in the middle or not at all. So if you want a slightly bolder colour, you can in effect do a smoky eye with browns rather than with greys. You can do smoky eyes with all sorts of colours. So that's another option for using this palette, using the cocoa all over. So in terms also of crepey eyes, if you've got crepey eyes and you're just not comfortable putting a lot of makeup on them, then the other thing is distraction. So as Tricia said, with a lovely pair of glasses, a beautiful lipstick applied nicely, groomed brows, and some nice face makeup, nice base and some blusher. And then you don't need to worry. So it's just detracting away from the crepiness. We'll just have to remember that the whole effect is it's not just one little area. When I do a makeup lesson with someone, I always say, wait till you've finished, wait till you've got the whole effect, and then hold the mirror at arm's length. Look at yourself at arm's length, because nobody really is looking at you that closely. It makes a massive difference to sort of see yourself objectively and get that balance correct. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Sally. Somebody, I noticed a comment down there. We'll come to Bryony at the moment for other questions, but what about deep set eyes? So just about that. So I talked about prominent eyes and slightly darker colour, so that, you know, that makes the eye, you can see with Sally that with her with her cream on, her eyelids are very prominent. So I put this mid-tone colour, which has worked for me in terms of just quick and easy, but it means that this part is less prominent. It still looks fine because it's got a little bit of this lovely pewter colour on it. Now, if you've got deep set eyes, you've got the opposite problem. Your eyes go too far back. This middle bit, which is your socket line, is actually too deep. So that's really, really deep. And it means that your whole eyes look slightly sunken in your head. So obviously you do the opposite. So you use lightness. So and you lift that lightness over and above. So what you're trying to do is to lessen the darkness that is created by your socket line. So you would put a wash of the palest color. So if I was using this, I'd use this color here, which is, I think that's soft lilac. And you would literally put a wash of that all over in order for your socket line to look less prominent. And then depending on how big your eyes are, whether you can manage with a lash line, and then lots, you know, always mascara, but the effect of it is to lessen the darkness of the eye socket. So remember, as Sally keeps repeating it, it's really important to say it's a basic lesson in all eye makeup, is that lightness will bring forward, make more prominent, darkness will recede, make less prominent. And think of the 5 areas and what you can do with those 5 areas. Bryony, let's come to you. Have you got any questions there that come up?
Do have some questions. Bridget wants to know, could you use concealer or foundation on the brow bone? She said she's got very discoloured eye skin and she's going to get the peach colour corrector, but she's just a bit confused about the brow bone process.
Do you want to answer that, Sally?
Absolutely. Well, I today didn't put anything other than the Instant Bright highlight on my brow bone. However, I do sometimes on my ladies use a little bit of foundation, depending on how, and I would probably go for probably the beauty balm rather than or a tiny bit of foundation is fine, but not too heavy. But if you've got a lot of discoloration, you can definitely put a little bit of beauty balm or foundation on. I tend not to put so much concealer on the actual eyelid, although there are some ladies that just don't get on at all with the eye prime, and in that case you could try a little bit of thin concealer. So yeah, if you're going to use the peach colour, you do need a little bit usually of concealer on the top of that, just to tape off on that peach colour. So yes, absolutely. Before using eye prime, in fact I didn't used to use eye prime until I found Look Fabulous Forever. I always did use foundation on my eyes and my eyebrows as my primer. But this I find works better than those, definitely.
Perfect. And Christine wants to know, how does she stop her eyeshadow powder in the lower lashes flaking throughout the day? She says that she ends up looking bruised. Would that be by using the primer? Would that help keep that lower lash line throughout the day?
I think you do need to have a base of something before. If you've got nothing on your skin and you go straight in with say chocolate, it won't last. So that's where I would put my foundation, a little bit of my concealer on before. You've got to have a base to put it on. That will help to stop the flaking. Putting enough on, it just depends. Everyone's different. Some people do have some oilier eyes, and some people, their eyes water a little bit. I find this actually works really well and does stay on often better than an eye pencil. And it might be that she uses a soft eye pencil and then uses the shadow on top, and the shadow will then hold the pencil on. That might work better for her than just using the shadow.
Okay, perfect. And then Jill wants to know, should we be matching our eyeshadow to the colour of our clothes? Should we be matching our eyeshadow colour to our clothes rather than our eye colour?
We're going to do another video about colours, eye colours to use, and to think about the eye, the actual colour of your eyes, so whether they're blue or grey or green or brown, and the sort of shadows that are really flattering on different coloured eyes. As to matching to colour of clothes, I think the important thing is the warm tone, cool tone to a certain extent. That if you are, like I am today, I've got this sort of this jumper I've got, and I got it from Hobbs, well, quite a few Hobbs jumpers, and it's a sort of a bluey purple, and then I've chosen to wear these blue tulali earrings. So obviously I want my eyeshadows to work reasonably well with that, but I could easily have worn this palette, anything from that palette, or that palette. Either of those you can see would have worked beautifully. And then, if I'd wanted to go slightly more neutral, that would have worked too. I don't think you want to be desperately matchy, but sometimes if you're wearing a particular color, so like teal or something like that, and you've got a teal eyeshadow on, that can look amazing. So I think it's a personal choice, really. I don't think there's a rule for it, for sure. I think it's a personal choice and what works for you. My thing would be, don't always do the same thing, don't always wear the same color, because you don't know what you're missing. I mean, I play around with my eye makeup quite a lot. Sometimes I'm in a hurry, be it quick, do the same old, but quite often I'll just have a little try of something different, because it's creative and I love it, and you never know what will happen, what effect you'll get. And the same goes for color. So I just think, I'll try this dusky pink today, and I think, yes, that actually looks really nice. So I don't know whether you agree with me there, Sally.
Absolutely, particularly in lockdown, particularly because we're wearing masks. I think now is the time to really play with your eyes, because that's really all that's on show a lot of the time. I like Tricia. I wear the pewter quite a lot all over for a wash, even though I am warm. I love it. I've got blue eyes, and I think what we will do a session, as Tricia said, on colours to go with eye colours, to go with your colouring, and we'll talk about the lid. We didn't deliberately today, we didn't talk about the lid colours, the silver mist and the green, and I want to talk about those and how to use those another week, because that's a question that I get quite a lot from ladies. But yeah, absolutely, I often wear teal, as you know, and I do use the teal, so I'm a bit of a matchy girl, but I also just like to play and use lots of different techniques. It's great fun. It is a bit of creativity. I think, don't take it too seriously. Try and enjoy your eye makeup. It really is, think that you're just doing a little bit of painting, and as I said, it happens to be on your eyes, and really have some fun while you've got the time.
Perfect. Just one last question from Jill. She said, would you apply your eye makeup before or after putting in your contact lenses? I don't know if either of you are contact lens wearers, but
I am a contact lens wearer. My contact lenses are for distance. So if I'm wanting to play tennis or driving, I wear my lenses. So I find, for me personally, I prefer to put my makeup on without my lenses in, because I find it easier to see in my mirror, in my magnifying mirror. So I let my makeup, as long as your mascara is dry and everything is sort of dry and set, I then am able to put my lenses in afterwards. I do know some ladies, however, that wear lenses, put their lenses in first and find that they can't do it any other way. So it depends on how adept you are. If you find you put the lenses in and you get fluid everywhere and you're going to smudge all your eye makeup, then I would do it the other way around. But I personally do my lenses afterwards when I'm totally finished.
Perfect. And then just Tricia, just finally, can you just confirm what's the colour that you've popped on your eyes today?
It's pewter. So as I said, I've almost worn it out. So you can see that I didn't have a new one to show you in my store cupboard. I've got quite a lot of new makeup in my store cupboard that we use for photo shoots and things. I didn't have one, but it's the middle colour of the Purples Trios. So that's it there.
Perfect.
And it's a sort of slightly purpley grey. It's a really lovely colour, and as you can see, it you know, it's just enough, really, just enough colour. Is that it, Bryony?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we'll wrap it up. Thank you very much again, Sally, and thank you, Bryony, for all your techie direction, and thank you all of you for coming along this morning. I hope you found that useful and helpful. Our offer this week is free shipping, so completely no cost to you when you order anything from us online, and the code is free, which is FREE. Just put that in when you check out if there's anything that you've seen that you fancy trying out. So thanks for your company. I look forward to seeing all of you again, I hope, tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to be talking to Annie T. Simmons, who runs an online magazine, which is called Annabelle and Grace. It used to be called The Country Wives, but she's a lovely, lovely woman. She has quite a long history with Look Fabulous Forever. She was one of the first people to give me a makeup party when I just launched the business, and she's absolutely delightful. And she's got a really interesting story to tell about how she evolved this new venture of hers in later life with her friend, so that she could offer interesting articles and things to older women. So I'm talking to Annie T at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon on a live Zoom call as usual. And then Wednesday we've got the cookery and healthy eating with Leonie as usual. And on Thursday we're doing cardio. I'm doing cardio with Lindsay. And on Friday, film club, which is All Is True, which is Kenneth Branagh and Judi Dench, and it's a lovely film, which I hope you'll enjoy. So we've got a packed week as usual, and I look forward to seeing many of you, all of you, whoever wants to join us for any of those sessions. So again, thank you, Sally, and thank you to everybody who's been listening and watching this morning. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.